welcome. We're really happy to be back from our summer break. And our salons are going to really just knock your socks off in this last quarter and a half of the year. We're starting out with our Maternal Gift Economy Breaking Through series with Salon 83. We need a matriarchal revolution, both in theory and practice, with Heide Goettner-Abendroth. And Jen is going to be following up in 2 weeks behind Heide with her paper that she actually presented at Matriarchy Future. So we're excited to hear that. And they are going to be, I'm sure, will be talking about the initiative that's going to be happening in October and forward. So our salons are hosted by Genevieve Vaughan and the International Feminists for the Gift Economy. I'm Letecia Layson, your moderator. I want to just thank you for taking the time out. The world is filled with much that's going on. And sometimes we have to make a commitment to actually take the time out to vision and think about the future, making our commitments of how we can make change in the world in a more peaceful, egalitarian, loving way. And Heide has some wise words for us today. Heide Goettner-Abendroth is a mother and a grandmother. She earned her PhD in philosophy of science at the University of Munich. She is published on philosophy of science and extensively on matriarchal societies and culture. In her opus, Matriarchal Studies on Indigenous Cultures Across the Globe, she defines scientifically this new field of knowledge and provides a world tour of examples and contemporary matriarchal studies. She is the founder of Modern Matriarchal Studies, and she has written her book. Heide, what is the name of your, the purple book? Modern Matriarchal Studies?
No. My main work consists of 2 books. Yes. Matriarchal Societies, Indigenous Cultures Across the Globe. And the other one is Matriarchal Societies of the Past and the Rise of Patriarchy. These are my 2 main books, my main work, and around many others.
Wonderful. I've had the pleasure of being at Heide's first English intensive on modern matriarchal studies with Jen and 16 other women. It happened almost, has it been 10 years ago already? Maybe. Something like that. It's amazing.
Count the years.
At our age. They go by so fast. And so much has changed in the world, but more importantly, so many more women and men have become familiar with Heide's work. And without further ado, I would like you to hear directly from Heide about her new initiative so that she can just inspire us, get us going, and tell us where we can go from here. Heide, please.
Thank you so much, Letecia, for your kind words. Yes, when I started this new initiative, my friends asked me, "Oh, Heide, you don't have too much to do. You will have still time to do still more than writing and teaching and lecturing. Now you are also politically active." I said, yes, obviously I have not so much to do that I can do all this together. So I would like to present this new initiative to you, and I start with some theory. I called it, we need a matriarchal revolution. And surely, I think we need this. Let me give some theory which will include what we mean with a matriarchal revolution. This is not just a definition of 2 sentences, but it's the idea of The matriarch, the vision of a matriarchal future, which we should know so that we would not be misunderstood when we use the word revolution. We know there have been a lot of patriarchal revolutions, violent and ending up again in violence and power. The former power were overthrown and the new power were the revolution people. So this is not our way. So I will start with giving now some theory, then I will present this new initiative and you will have a short video to see how we presented it at the first time. So, some theory at first. We are deeply entrenched in the destructive phase of late patriarchy today, and the situation is getting worse by the day. Wars are tormenting nations, and people are sinking further into despair and apathy, unable to see a way forward. This despair only strengthens the widespread feeling of powerlessness against the ruling forces. That's why we need a matriarchal revolution. All of us have done so much to try to alter this situation, decades of working tirelessly towards creating a different world. Yet the alternative we envision, namely matriarchy as a form of society and a way of life that could redress our current crisis, remains invisible to the majority, who are unaware that a fundamentally different alternative has long existed. This knowledge is kept from them. It is suppressed. They are not allowed to think differently or to have any hope, let alone pursue a different path. That's why we need a matriarchal revolution. Often our relentless efforts seem like drops of water falling on hot stone, as patriarchal systems continue to cling rigidly to outdated values and forms. To break this cycle, we must act more boldly and challenge these entrenched structures step by step. We must become more radical, going to the roots, really. In doing so, we can make it clear to a lot of people that the knowledge of an alternative way forward has existed all along. Little will change if we only adhere to the acceptable rules of patriarchy. We must break free from the constraints and disregard patriarchal rules to spread the truth. That's why we need a matriarchal revolution, a revolution built on what the patriarchal powers fear most, matriarchy and revolution combined. Together, they represent a practical path towards a life without domination of states, modeled on the wisdom of indigenous matriarchal peoples. It is the path how all humans, in spite of the diversity, can cooperate as equals, act politically by creating consensus, and resolve conflicts without violence. And to achieve this, we women must take the lead. Today, leadership by women is officially encouraged, but only on the condition that such women conform to patriarchal values. Then they can pursue a career and succeed in patriarchal politics or capitalist economies as tokens, and often end up isolated, making no real impact on the deeper issues affecting women and people in general. This is not the leadership we need. Rather, we need rebellious women with a wide range of skills they have today. Above all, we need rebellious mothers and grandmothers, female elders, who are experienced in nurturing life and raising it successfully. Also often undervalued, this capacity has immense untapped potential for leadership. It comprises the root of community, cooperation, and freedom from domination, as shown by the indigenous matriarchal female elders in their clans and communities. Our goal, therefore, is a society grounded in maternal values that is free from domination. That's why we need a matriarchal revolution, one rooted in a clear matriarchal vision that can unite us. Now I would like to give you a short outline of this matriarchal vision, of which I hope it can really bring different ways of women together and different ways of movements. A vision of a matriarchal future is not wishful thinking, nor an abstract utopia. In contrast, visioning a matriarchal future is based on real matriarchal societies of the present and the past, which have existed for millennia and still exist in some parts of the world. They form part of the legacy of humankind and provide the foundations and accurate knowledge to envision a matriarchal future as a radically different entire social system. That means a mother-centered, consensus-based, profoundly egalitarian society. I would like to talk briefly about what this vision includes. A matriarchal vision on the micro level means, socially, developing structures that foster various types of natural and affinity communities, such as co-housing, communes, alliances of neighboring families or communities, and networks. Affinity communities arise from a spiritual and intellectual common ground, from which a symbolic clan can develop, resulting in a group that is more deeply connected than by mere motives of interest. The matriarchal principle here is that such affinity groups are generally initiated, supported, and led by women. The determining criteria are the needs of women and children, which are the future of humanity. Men will be fully integrated within the new matriarchal clans, but according to a different value system, namely one based on care and love. And they unconditionally support these clans. Economically, the perspective emerges of an alternative local and regional subsistence economy, which means economic independence of the people. Subsistence entities engage in self-sufficient, independent activities in which the quality of life takes precedence over quantity. This does not only mean doing local gardening and agriculture, but also fostering regional communication, trade, technology, and arts. Even producing high technology is possible at the regional level if the monopolization by transnational corporation is brought to an end. All the goods of regional agriculture, arts, technology, and trade are in the hands of women. Women have the entire economy in their hands, not as owners, but following their right of distribution by practicing permanent gift-giving as a motor of circulation of goods for the benefit of all, be it in the family, community, village, or town. Politically, the principle of matriarchal consensus in decision-making is basic for a truly egalitarian society. It is the inspiring stimulus for creating any matriarchal community. It establishes a balance between women and men and also between the generations, since the elderly as well as young people are able to have their say. According to this principle, the small units of the old or new matriarchal clans are the actual decision makers. To implement the consensus principle in the future, a system of smaller and broader councils must be developed, all interconnected, to make decisions at the communal, local, and regional levels. At the spiritual cultural level, it's essential to reject all hierarchical religions with belief in transcendent divinities and claims of absolute truth, which have deeply debased the earth, humanity, and especially women. Rather, we are looking at a new sacralization of the world, in line with the matriarchal perspective that the entire world and all it includes is divine. This leads to freely and creatively honoring and celebrating life and the visible world. And in this way, matriarchal spirituality pervades everything, pervades everyday life, and becomes a normal part of it. These were matriarchal patterns on the micro level. Now, some ideas about matriarchal vision and patterns on the macro level. Regionalism. The smaller units of society responsible for engendering person-to-person and transparent politics are given preference. They must not become so big that people cannot see through them and cannot participate in their decisions, as is the case in all of today's national states and superpowers. But they must be big enough to safeguard their self-sufficiency by means of a subsistence economy and the diversity of their handiwork, technologies, and arts. The ideal dimension is that of the region. Unlike national borders, the borders of a region are not random. Rather, they have developed out of the conditions of the landscape and out of cultural traditions. Regional borders are formed by the decisions of the people themselves, who want to live together on the basis of common cultural and spiritual traditions. A new matriarch society does not extend beyond its own region. It is a network, a web of communities in villages and of neighborhoods in towns. These are independent village republics and town republics, and as such, the principle of consensus limits the size of towns and cities. The two phases of society. Humanity is made up of two, women and men, diverse people included. All traditional matriarchal societies have taken this basic fact into account, in that they maintain a social order based on complementary gender equality and perfect balance between the sexes. This means that in every realm of society, women and men are equally represented. In matriarchal politics, it is always a woman and a man together as the chosen speakers for the clan who represent it in the outside world. That is also true at the levels of village, town, and region. They act together, representing the double face of society. The female representatives are chosen solely by the women of the clan, the village, or the town, and the male speakers are chosen solely by the men. Now some words on culture and spirituality at the interregional level. Regarding culture at the interregional level, spirituality is once again the connecting power. Matriarchal spirituality is not institutionalized and is therefore free, but it is not arbitrary. It has a foundation that binds all humankind, Mother Earth, and the flow of life. Also, a matriarchal society as a system cannot be constituted beyond the regional level. It can create friendly alliances with other regions. These interregional associations are of a purely cultural and spiritual nature and are expressed symbolically. In this way, a free horizontal network of sister regions can be created, completely distinct from today's centralist hierarchical state structures. In the age of modern communication technologies, these cultural and spiritual alliances are not limited to neighboring regions, but can link to other countries and continents. In this way, interregional associations among matriarchal communities, towns, and regions could arise worldwide. Now some short ideas about the matriarchal vision on the global level. Well, today we are living globally, so we need the global level too. To solve global problems, these steps from below must nevertheless be supplemented with more comprehensive structures. National states no longer fit the bill. They are too big for transparent political processes. At the same time, they are too small to solve the global problems created by the current patriarchy. This is especially true regarding problems related to the advanced destruction of the biosphere on Earth. They affect all of humanity, so global strategies are needed to solve them. Therefore, existing national governments must be dissolved in two directions. On the one hand, in the direction of autonomous regions, which are the basis for life. On the other hand, in the direction of a global structure with a purely executive status which has no state power. Such a structure could be a global council made up of the two halves of a women's global council and a men's global council, which includes the delegates from around the world. As delegates, they are accountable to their regions. They have no power to make decisions independently of their region's determinations. With these matriarchal patterns on the global level, what we call a state dissolves, regardless of its political form. The concept and image of the hierarchical state, no matter how it is constituted, have become redundant. Every time the patriarchal history of established domination began with the formation of states. We don't need them any longer, for peoples can rule themselves from below, which is a very effective and sustainable form of politics and of life. To achieve this, we clearly need a matriarchal revolution, because every step in this vision is revolutionary and completely contrary and completely different to what we have today with patriarchy in different with patriarchic patterns in different forms. Because I think one thing is for certain: the future of humanity will be matriarchal, or there will be no future. So this was my short introduction to the theory what a matriarchal revolution could mean. And as I just said, I think you have heard that every step in this vision, be it on the micro level or macro level or global level, is completely different than what we have today in the patriarchal world. In the second part of what I want to say to you, I would like to continue with some ideas about the practice. The vision is beautiful, of course, but how do we go there? How do we arrive there? The question is very difficult, not easy, but I think there are some possibilities. I think the practice is not so far away as we might think. So I would like to give you some ideas how this vision, or even some parts of it, can be implemented today. And after that, I come to our own initiative, what we try to do. The fact that this vision of a new matriarch society radically changes perspective is even more important because it does not provide remedies for patriarchal problems, but rather transgresses the system emphatically. If we look at the situation today, we can see many diverse movements in which women are actively taking part and have important roles. They are developing non-patriarchal patterns, which can be seen as a tendency towards a new matriarchal society, even if they are not aware of this, if they are not aware of this background. Through the matriarchal model, it's not difficult to see how they can be combined towards this more comprehensive goal and could collaborate, which would be necessary. Let me give some examples of movements that relate to the different levels of society and already implement some matriarchal patterns. At the economic level, many diverse ecological movements are on their way to this goal. There are many, and they are everywhere. They include, for example, the movement of urban gardening and of transition towns. These movements can be based on the movement of the maternal gift economy, which is very important in this context, and on the many gift-giving circles which already exist. Women in these movements are increasingly aware of the matriarchal patterns included in their activities, and such awareness is growing, and we can help them to get more and more aware that they are still doing some steps toward a matriarchal economic model. At the social level, many kinds of communities already exist, as for example the communities movement can show us. Affinity communities of different kinds are spreading in Europe and the US and in many other places. Some of them, unfortunately not many of them, most of them are led by men, but some of them are led by women, which definitely put women and mothers at the center. As we can see, for example, in the revolutionary movement of the Kurdish women in the Middle East, or in the women's village Nashira in Colombia, and also in the motherful community which focuses on single mothers. All of them are aware of the matriarchal values and patterns they have established. Women in these communities choose by themselves if they live with or without men. A variety of such choices already exists. These are exciting examples of women who take matriarchal patterns seriously as their guiding principles and the basis of their lives. There are many others, and many more are planned as projects which I'm not familiar with, but hope to learn about soon. They are the conscious seeds of a new matriarchal society. At the level of political decision-making, all the alternative movements mentioned above try to practice this principle, and they have gained lots of experience in this way. Women in their communities practice it on a daily level in all women's councils. At the spiritual cultural level, we already have a great variety of movements created by women who have left the traditional male-dominated religions behind, such as the International Goddess movement and the movement of matriarchal spirituality, which developed within the feminist movements. Many women and some men have begun to celebrate the cycles of the earth and the cycles of life in many individual ways. There is no hierarchical order or spiritual head among them, and of course, no missionizing. So when we take these movements into account and look at them, we see everywhere matriarchal patterns arising, even if many people in these movements are not aware of this. But we can help them to get the idea and to raise their awareness that they are on the way to realize a matriarchal vision. And what is my wish, my fervent wish, that they would start to collaborate. For the matriarchal model includes this all. So not women who practice spirituality are not far away from women who are active in ecological movement and so on. They could collaborate for it. The matriarchal model as a form of a complete society can include it all. This is already here. And I think it's important to make it clear the goal where they are going, so that they do not act isolated to everyone for every movement following its own way, but they should start to collaborate, to come together. It's a festival for future in the Netherlands, which were celebrated in July. The organizers tried to bring women from different movements of this kind together. There were women of the sociocracy, and there were women of ecological movements, and they listened to the matriarchal vision and learned from this. So I hope this might be a beginning, but we have to continue, and we have a little bit to educate all these women in this movement that they get the idea they are on the way to a completely new social model, to a completely new model of a society, and not only doing a little part in patriarchy to improve just the ecological side or just the religious or spiritual side. No, they all have to come together. Then I think this would be a very powerful stream, very powerful combination toward a new matriarchal society. Now, we have still a lot of time, so we have a lot of time to discuss in them. Now, in the third part of my presentation, I would like to talk a little bit about our new idea and initiative to bring the matriarchal model more to the foreground. I talk now about the coalition Matriarchy Now. I appreciate the festival called Matriarchy for Future. I know most of the women were known to me. Most of them were former students of myself. But then I told him, why should we project matriarchy into the future? Why not matriarchy now? We should start now with it. For the situation in the world is so catastrophic that we have to start now and not wait what will happen in the future. So I had the idea, together with some other women, I will just tell about them, that we should create a coalition matriarchy now. Now, we need it now. And we don't want to wait any longer. Our idea our motive is to initiate a matriarchal revolutionary movement. I don't think that revolution is now such a big word, but as I said before, every step toward a matriarchal pattern is revolutionary. Even if it's tiny, it's a revolutionary step. So we openly declare it that our motive is to initiate a movement which is matriarchal and revolutionary. This revolutionary way can have many faces. As I just presented these many initiatives, in my eyes, they have all a revolutionary germ in it, if they are careful not to be swallowed by patriarchy. The basic idea is to bring the matriarchal model more to the foreground. Because this matriarchal model is known by many women today, but it should become much more known. It should become known to the mainstream. It should become known to everybody. And so we had the idea not to hide our knowledge and our discussions about matriarchy and maternal gift economy, to hide it behind closed doors, to discuss only behind closed doors, to have conferences only behind closed doors. So this is also a way to make women invisible again. For in the mainstream media and everywhere, men's organizations and patriarchy is present, and women are shied away into their private circles or their conferences behind closed doors, and we want to go out. We want to leave behind these closed doors and go out into the open public. Even if it might be difficult, but no, we have to try it. So no revolution is behind closed doors. It's on the streets or everywhere visible. So we had the idea to bring the matriarchal model out of the closed doors, more on the streets, or to big conferences where many women can see us. This is one way, and another way is to bring it out on the streets and to show it to the people what a matriarchal model means, even if it's provocative, but the revolution is always provocative. So, okay, these are our motives. And if I'm not correct, I think some of the women of the coalition are here. Please, if I'm not correct, correct me. I try to formulate what we mean. Who are we? Who are we? Yes, who we are. The coalition called Matriarchy Now consists now of 7 organizations, all of which clearly name themselves as matriarchal. We know there are a lot of wonderful organizations who try to practice ecological and egalitarian and so on patterns. They are great. But we explicitly label it as matriarchal. And this makes a difference. For what is egalitarian or what is ecological can be easily swallowed by patriarchy as a welcome remedy for patriarchal problems. But matriarchy cannot be swallowed. It's a complete difference, the complete contrary, completely different way and model. So all these 7 organizations label their work and their ideas and what they do openly matriarchal. Yeah, now who are we? To put it short, in this coalition, we are 7 now, and we hope to win more organizations over, more organizations who also boldly call themselves matriarchal and try to implement matriarchal values and patterns in their own work. It is all right. I'm sorry, I start with myself. It's not very polite, but it's easiest for me. The International Academy Hagia for modern matriarchal study is one member. Another member is the organization Motherful in the US. Academy Hagia is from Germany. Motherful is an organization of single mothers. Now more than 1,000 single mothers are included in these organizations. A caring organization for single mothers who call themselves also matriarchal. The name is Motherful in the US. Another one is Le Matriarchali in Italy. Friends of mine in Bologna in Italy who are working with matriarchal patterns since decades. collaborating with me. Another one is a new initiative, also from Italy, the Dancing Goddess, who tries to combine the matriarchal social patterns with ecological patterns and new ways of buildings and so on. Another one, not the last, not last but not at least, the Maternal Gift Economy Movement is one member of the coalition. The Maternal Gift Economy Movement with Genevieve Vaughan. I think you know it very well. I must not present it here. And Nashia, the women's village in Colombia, which has been founded by Angela Dolmetsch, is also a member. And Chicks, led by Nergis de Bere, is one of our members. She promotes the matriarchal idea on Instagram with thousands of followers. So we are 6 in this coalition, and we work on equal terms, having created matriarchal councils where we try to find out our consensus about the next steps. We took altogether the initiative to make some step toward a matriarchal revolution. All right, what are we doing? We came together some year ago, and now we are in this year. This is the first year when we go out into the open space. We start this year to bring this matriarchal now action. We created a political action. You will see it very soon in the video. We created a political action, and we bring this political action into big conferences, and we will also bring it onto the streets. We showed it at the big conference, the festival in Holland, in the Netherlands, Matriarchy for Future. There we did it the first time. And it was well accepted, and we were quite happy that it was so well accepted. And the next presentation of this political action will be at a very big conference, the biggest feminist conference which exists today, the Filia conference in UK, England, with thousands of women. There we will do it also at the conference, because many women don't know about the matriarchal model, and we want to present it to them. Not with lectures, of course, it's accompanied by lectures, but the central presentation is this action, which is done without words, but we hope well understood. Okay, next year, I do not know how we will continue next year. We will find it out in our consensus finding process in our matriarchal councils. Now let me give you some introduction to what this action means and how it looks like. So that is easier for you to understand when you see the video in the next few minutes. We created 5 slogans. Of course, our name is Matriarchy Now, wonderfully to be seen on a big banner. Then we created 5 slogans to put in a very short way out, to say in a very short way what matriarchy is. If you only would show the banner Matriarchy Now, so many people would stick in their prejudice that it means again women's rule and all this old stuff. So we created 5 banners with 5 slogans to make very clear what matriarchy really is. I will tell you about these 5 slogans which we created together. All what I'm telling you was created in this council by consensus. At the first banner, one of the banners, as we have 5 banners. One has the word egalitarian society. This means all individuals, genders, sexes, and peoples have equal value in spite of their great diversity. The next one, consensus decisions. Each decision is taken by all who are involved in a creative decision-finding process. The third banner says, mother-led communities. Mothers, who are the sources of life, lead their communities without ruling. The fourth banner says, maternal gift economy. The goods for life are shared equally and given according to needs, like mothers do for their children. And the fifth banner says, peace with Mother Earth. The Earth and all her beings, human and non-human, as well as her elements and landscapes, are respected as sacred and our only home. So, in this action, the name Matriarchal now is shown, and these 5 banners with the 5 slogans. And everyone who reads this knows what matriarchy really, really is. So, and to make it not so, then we created also 5 scenes to show in a scene, in a short pantomimic performance, what these 5 slogans mean. We made a short scene about egalitarian society, about mother-led community, about maternal gift economy, consensus decisions, peace with Mother Earth. 5 scenes, pantomimic scenes. This is a performance which is combined with these banners. And this performance visualizes what we mean with these banners. We didn't want only to stand there showing banners like so many demonstrations, which I think is very boring, but we created these 5 scenes to visualize what these slogans mean. And you will see them soon in the video. And in every scene, we start with a patriarchal situation. For example, with egalitarian society, we start with a hierarchical pattern, and then step by step, the egalitarian society was created. In a pantomimic scene, only 10 minutes each scene, or even shorter, I don't know. And consensus decision starts with people talking to each other. No one understands the others. They are talking, and no one is listening or understanding until they come together and listen to each other and find a consensus decision. But again, you have one who is not consenting. In our situation, this one person is mostly excluded, for she is so nasty. But in a matriarchal consensus decision, she is not excluded, but everyone is listening to her because she might have a point which all the others neglected. And if everyone got it, she is also in the consensus decision process. You will see it. Mother-led communities, yes. We start with a mother who is overburdened, has a baby and is overburdened, but she is isolated. No one is helping. Everyone does her job, not interested what the mother does and what are her problems, her sorrows. And step by step, she includes the other women with their capacities into her motherly circle, and they create a mother-led community. And the baby is given from one hand to the next, and everyone can do her own capacities, but she brings it into the circle. This is the difference. And maternal gift economy, that's very nice. We started with trading. 2 people were trading and were selling and buying. No one of these pairs who were selling and buying were satisfied because the prices were always higher and nothing was happening. Typically patriarchal exchange. But then people started to gift a gift, and the others were excited and liked the gift giving. And then the gift giving goes round and goes round and goes round, and people forget the exchange pattern. Forgot it. Okay, a peace with Mother Earth is the last thing which you will see. Yes, Mother Earth She was visible with her coat on the continents on her coat, so she could be recognized as Mother Earth, and she was not respected. There was oil drilling from her, there was cutting wood and destroying her and so on, and until she is so exhausted that she nearly breaks down. Then humanity understood that humanity has to act differently and to care for Mother Earth. Then they started to care for Mother Earth until Mother Earth could recover and could dance again. So this is the last scene, and now I have described it a little bit to give you an introduction. Now I would like to ask you, Diane, to send the video to us. Matriarchy now is a peaceful matriarchal coalition and activism. Now we start with egalitarian society and we show to you what it
Thank you, Heidi. That was a beautiful film. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we open up?
Yes, you see, we are not acting as actresses. It's not a theater. We did it spontaneously. Of course, we did a short exercise before, and then we did it spontaneously. And it was so nice that the women around us really expressed their feelings and were with us during this performance. So we liked it to do. And as you can see from the short 5 slogans, it was very clear what matriarchy is. So thank you, Diane, for showing it, and thank you all for watching and listening. And if you like, we can now open our session for the discussion, comments, and all what you want to say.
Thank you, Heidi. Jen, let me just check in with you and see if there's anything that you'd like to add before I open up questions with Liliana and then Judith.
Well, I just want to say it was a wonderful meeting, very inspiring, and we felt the solidarity of matriarchal solidarity, and that was really a way of living within matriarchy for a couple of days, and so that was healing from this crazy society we're living in now. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much for being at the head of this movement. It's so needed. Let me just check in with Liliana and see if she has a question that she'd like to pose for Heidi.
Yeah, there's a question from Heide House. And for Heidi, thank you, Heidi. Can you speak to the role of single mothers in their evolution?
I think this is much more the topic of the motherful community. It is initiated and guided by Heide House and Lisa, I do not know, her friend Lisa. They have brought together a big community of single mothers, more than 1,000. And they are convinced when mothers come together, matriarchal patterns developed nearly spontaneously. But they are aware of this and they label it like this. They do gift giving, caring for this mother, they do it for each others, and they help each others. For I think single mothers are the most vulnerable group in our society. And so they do a great work to bring these mothers together and creating a big community with gift economy and helping each other and all what they do in communally. So I can only hint at Heidi Ho's work. And if you want to know more, you can go to our website, Matriarchy Now. Website is www.matriarchy-now.com. And you can see these 7 organizations and can read something more about them.
Thank you, Heidi. Jen, did you have anything that you'd like to add there?
Not really. I'm just happy to be here with Heide and listening to you present the gift economy and matriarchal studies together. And so we see our synthesis going forward.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jen. Judith, do you have a question?
There were several people in the chat that put in information about organizations that they're part of, and the values that they foster, and so the question is, if one wants to your organization to be part of to join the 7 that are already there, what is the process?
Yes, we are really. Jenny, anyway, please add when I say something, for you're also in the coalition. Of course, we want to broaden and to develop this coalition and bring in more organizations who openly work with the term matriarchy and know what matriarchal patterns mean. Of course, there are wonderful organizations all around the world, but they do not use the term matriarchy, and I think this is necessary to show that these matriarchal organizations mean a completely different thing than what is patriarchy and what is all in a diffuse way around. So if these organizations are willing to name themselves matriarchal and to create matriarchal patterns within their own work, they are all welcome to us, and you can contact us via our website, Matriarchy Now, www.matriarchy-now.com, and we will answer to you. And of course, we would like to broaden our coalition and include more and more communities, organizations, and movements who openly work with matriarchy and try to bring matriarchal patterns into our world.
Thanks, Heidi. I think.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you. You put it on the website. Thank you, Diane. Thank you. You put it in the chat. Sorry, not on the website. In the chat. Thank you, Diane.
Yes. Okay, Liliana.
Yes, I have a question from Sherry Mitchell. Dear Heide, it is wonderful to see you. Can you share with us what you view as the obligation of the modern matriarchy to help heal our societies, more specifically to help heal the psychological, emotional, and spiritual damage caused by the current systems? Thank you.
Yes, I think all what we try to do and all what we already did for decades, all women of this coalition and many others are meant to heal. I always experienced this in my study courses when I was teaching about matriarchy. That was not only an intellectual task, it was also a healing task in a spiritual way. And especially at the Academy Hagia, sorry, we have a part with matriarchal healing circles and so on. And I can only talk about my organization in Hagia, but I think Genevieve and all the other women who are in the coalition have a lot of experiences how healing it is when women collaborate and are open in this gift-giving way and go on with each other in egalitarian consensus-finding way. To live in this way, it's very healing, and every one of us in our coalition does this.
Thank you, Heide. Okay. Judith, do you have a question for us?
I know that there are a lot of groups, especially in North America, that completely agree with your 5 banners and with all of the goals of the group, but they object to the term matriarchy because it's too easy to confuse with patriarchy, and they spend too much time having to explain that matriarchy is not the female equivalent of patriarchy, that it's a whole different concept. So I wonder if you could say something specifically about the use of the word patriarchy to as your central word to describe the concept.
Yeah, this is an important question. I often hear this comment. Let us make an experiment in thought. If we would list all the what patriarchy is, domination about other people, domination about other men by few men, the rulers, domination of women in general, doing damage to nature, exploiting nature. If you all would list this in a row and not use the term patriarchy, then you can you understand what I mean? You can always talk about this and this and this and this, and it remains a little bit like like listing or registering things, and you have not the right term to say what it is. But when you say that this is patriarchy, then you have the clue, and you have the combination of all this under the word patriarchy is very powerful. Try to drop the term patriarchy and look what happens. The same with the term matriarchy, it only sounds parallel. It is not parallel. If you list the egalitarian things and the wonderful things for Mother Earth and so on, as I just said before, many do this good work. But then it's like a listing, and it's going somewhere, and it's not clear what they do. But if you label all these tendencies in these modern and alternative movements as matriarchal, then you have the clue, and then you have the combination. Then you can all of this put together, and it has power. Sure, many are afraid that they always have to defend themselves against the prejudices, what matriarchy is, women's rule, and so on and so on and so on. But you see, I'm using this term since 4 decades. And I always explain what it really is, like we did it in our action. We explained what it really is. And more people got it, and it is spreading. And they know how important it is to use this term as a completely different way of life and different model than patriarchy. That it sounds parallel is only that it sounds parallel is only a little bit deceptive. I hope I use the right word. But when you can explain it very easily that matriarchy has a different meaning than patriarchy. Patriarchy really means rule of the fathers. But the Greek word arche has a double meaning. It has the meaning of domination and the meaning of beginning. So you can translate matriarchy as mothers at the beginning, which is a completely different meaning. All right, this is one argument. But I think it's very practical to use this term as often as we can, everywhere where we can. And the more it is spreading, the more it will become quite normal and usual in our world, and quite normal to understand it in the right way. When I started in the beginning with this word, I heard all these objections, and now so many women and also more and more men are accepting this word in the new definition, in the new meaning. And this will really open up a way. Otherwise, when we say, oh, we have an egalitarian and a mother-led and so on, and don't use this word, it remains a diffuse way. But when we use it and spread this term again and again, it's very clear that we're doing something completely different and going a completely different way than patriarchy is, for this is the other model. We have to name the model. Otherwise, it is a little bit, yes, diffuse. I cannot explain it better. Sorry.
Thank you, Heidi. I think you explained it quite well. Vaughan, who has been with us here in our salons, reminds us that one of the things that happened during the colonization of her people was that they took the mother language out. They took the mother out of their language, and their language was rooted in matriarchy. Their culture is matriarchal. And if we don't use the appropriate word, matriarchy, then people begin to try to equate the two. But we need to correct the definition each time we use that word. We need to actually ensure that people understand our meaning when we're using that word, whenever we're having a conversation. Oftentimes, people don't define that word when they're using it, and an argument will ensue or a debate. Mm-hmm. And once you get into that debate, it's very hard to draw people back in. Mm-hmm. When I think when people are bilingual, trilingual, or multilingual, it's easier for people to understand, oh, that word means this in your language. And I think, you're speaking a matriarchal language using that word matriarchy from inside the language itself and inside the culture itself and inside the paradigm itself. So yeah. I think it's...
Yeah. Let me add, thank you, Letecia. Let me add something. You see, some indigenous people openly and clearly use the word matriarchy and mean their egalitarian societies. The Iroquoian people use it. You see Barbara Mann, who is writing about them. The Minangkabau people, the 6 million matriarch people, are using it, for they say, this is what our society is. If they would describe it as mother-led and consensus decision and egalitarian, nobody would clearly know what it is. They use it with pride. And so they clearly say that it's completely different than what is around us, our other societies. So we can make it clear with this term. And even if you feel attacked, you can try to explain and the other person can learn something. So you have the possibility to teach what really matriarchy is. And I think this teaching is necessary to spread. For many people do not know that this model exists, and they confuse it with some other things, and so on and so on. And it was very interesting from one of you to say the same is happening with the term mother. The term mother is erased. You should not. How should we say now? Parents or birthing woman, and so on and so on. But to use the term mother is so important, for it is against women in general and against mothers in general that these words should be erased. In the same way, they tried to erase the term matriarchy, which is used in the proper way by indigenous peoples, and it was distorted by this interpretation. It means women's domination or women's rule. This was on purpose distorted. Why? We should be prevented we should be hindered and prevented to do research on this special type of societies and to get our own insights. So this distorted definition of matriarchy tries to prevent women to know more about their history and more about indigenous societies where women really are at the center. So this is the politics of patriarchy. So we can't ignore it and continue with what we know. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Heidi. I think one of the other things that we need to be very aware of, which is oftentimes people assume that matriarchies have to be reclaimed or rediscovered from the past. And there are contiguous matriarchies that have existed throughout time that are still existing now. And that's what we want to remember, because when these people, these indigenous people speak about their cultures, that's how they've identified from the very beginning of their culture. They didn't just start using that word in the 20th century or the 21st century. This is who they are. And so it sort of erases that notion that, oh, well, there never was a matriarchy, or, matriarchies are only in the past. So thank you. Thank you for making it.
In the past, to have crazy arguments with the archaeologists. I give you a short example about Çatalhöyük. They discovered clearly, archaeologist Ian Hodder, that this was an egalitarian society. How nice. But he said, oh, it was never a matriarchy. Now they have discovered and published in Science that they have the mother line. They discovered it by DNA analysis. So they are egalitarian, had the mother line, but no, it's not matriarchy. You can read this in every scientific article, that when they come closer to this topic, they react like shocked. It must not be it's not a matriarchy, as if they are afraid of something strange. But clearly on the other hand, they prove it all the way. They prove it all the time. They prove that they are egalitarian, they have motherline. So they always come with a wrong understanding. And you see, this is like a block in their thinking. It should not be it must not be said what it really is, or it's not allowed to exist. It's not allowed to exist. This is a problem. And you see this crazy argumentation everywhere, even with very intelligent, scholarly men. And yeah, you see, it's like a barrier. It should not exist. It must not exist, because women could awake when they learn more about that. This is a political a political matter which patriarchy always put out, and it's like always brainwashing women. They thought that they never should dare to go closer to this topic. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Heidi. Let me check in with Liliana. Do you have a question for us, Liliana?
Yes, this is a question for Heide. Heide, how did you find the idea of matriarchy?
How did I come across this?
Yes.
Yes, nice question. You know, I was raised in patriarchy and was educated in patriarchy thinking, as we all experience it. Beside indigenous peoples, they have their own culture. But we Western women were all raised in patriarchal mindset and so on. And it happened by chance. When I was always interested in mythology. And I read, when I was a young student of 21, I read the book of Robert Graves, Greek mythology. And this scholar was very clear about Greek myth. It's not only about Greek mythology, this book. He showed that the Greek pantheon of the gods and Zeus and all this is very patriarchal, and that behind this myth was a very old layer, older layer, where these goddesses had a completely different meaning and a completely broader realm, and he clearly labeled it matriarchal. I was shocked when I read it at the first time, and I was inspired, and I never could get rid of this. Then I was a student, I looked in all the libraries, in all the different disciplines, if I could find more about this topic, matriarchy. Yes, and I found Bachofen's work, Mother Right, and I found a lot other things which clearly showed the same patterns, but were not labeled openly matriarchal. So the first inspiration was from Robert Graves' analysis of Greek mythology, who had clearly 2 and more layers, and the oldest layer was matriarchal.
Thank you,
and
Heide.
later, when I was studying this more and more, I had a good opportunity to go to visit one of the still existing matriarch societies. This is the Mozo in southwestern China. And I went there with a group of an all-women's group from the Academy Hagia, and I did field research there. And of course, these people were not allowed to label themselves matriarchal. They had the idea they are backward and have to develop. And we always told them very softly, you are not backward, you are matriarchal. And this is very interesting. We European women came to study you. We tried to show them that their patterns are very important and they can be proud of them. And all right, they adopted the term matriarch. Some of the scholars, they have their own scholars, some of them adopted then the term matriarchal because they understood that their society had these patterns and was similar to the society of the Iroquois and other people. They at first got it that their patterns are not backward, but that their patterns are also existent in the world of today in different continents. This gave them more self-awareness and self-confidence, in spite of the Chinese government who tried to develop them. This was very important for me to meet them. But at first it was about mythology. Right. Every one of us stumbles one day about the word matriarchy, then what do we do without this? Yeah.
And can you
what
just
do
say
we do with this? Yes.
What do we do with this? But could you say when you started turning your lens to your own culture and looking at your matriarchal roots? Because I think there was a point where you actually started doing that too, isn't it?
Letecia, can you repeat your question? It's an important one. I want to get it clearly.
Yes. Can you just say a little bit about when you started turning that lens of matriarchy to your own culture? Because you started doing that, and that was critical.
Yes, after I have understood this theory of Robert Graves, which was very clear and very critical. He was always criticized for doing this, for sure. He was accused to be a poet, and not true. But he was very clear. And I think he inspired a lot of the early goddess movement in the US too. Then I started to continue with the patterns he had shown. I systematized these patterns to get a clear idea what matriarchal mythology and matriarchal society is. And then I studied more and more mythology, not only the Greek one, also Egyptian, Persian, Indian. I broadened this view, and this was my first book called The Goddess and Her Hero, where I showed these matriarchal patterns in mythology from India, Mediterranean area to Europe. This is the cultural area which was connected in antiquity and in ancient times. And here I could find similar patterns everywhere. I know this is my home culture, even if it's broad, but looked at it from the historical perspective, it's my home culture. It cannot be paralleled to the culture of American people, African people, or East Asian people. So I confined my research at first to this area, even if it's broad, which is the culture which influenced Europe and my own culture. And later I looked in my local area where I could find traces of this. My local area is a German-speaking area, Switzerland, Austria, Germany, and I found with this lens of matriarchal patterns, I found a lot of remains and relics which show that also here we had a long matriarchal period which was overshadowed later by patriarchal patterns. So I did also local work, not only international work, local work, for the local people. And I try to teach the local people too.
Wonderful. I think that's perhaps a little clue of how each person in our room or each person listening can perhaps, with their questions, begin to turn their own lens so that they're actually embodying these principles. And they align not only with yours, but also with the maternal gift economy of how the two actually come together as one of the important component parts. They coexist. Jen, did you have anything that you wanted to say at this point? Otherwise, I can go to Judith for a question.
Oh, thanks. I'm fine.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Judith.
Maria Long asks, I can see the consensus devolving into group persuasion. She's going to one of your criteria. And as consensus devolves into group persuasion, what would the checks be for that very human tendency?
Yes, you see, in matriarchal society, it's not possible to use group pressure or group persuasion to get one's will and to get a false consensus. It's not possible. For these people are very aware, they are very honest, very open. They listen very openly, but they are also, how to say that, they have a great capacity of listening and of arguing, of bringing the points to the matter. And of course, the patterns, the social patterns are different. They are relatives, they live together all their lives, they know each other, they trust each other. And when you trust each other, then your group persuasion or one who tries to put pressure on a group is not possible. They know their daily life, they know their possibilities, and they know their problems and solutions very well. They are not strangers who come together. In our society, when you try to find to make a consensus process, we are individuals, strangers. We come from very different perspectives and very different worldviews. So it's difficult to find a true consensus. we have to make many more steps to find a consensus than matriarchal people have to do. In their clans, they live together all their life. They live together in their villages all their lives. They know each other. And so the consensus process are quite quick and quite open and quite honest. It's completely different when we come together. And today, there are many people who try to develop good consensus processes. We at first have to overcome our individuality and our diversity and find trust in each other, to trust each other. And when we have found our confidence to each other, then we can start with a consensus finding process, because we come from patriarchy, which isolates us and tries to split us. So we have to do many more steps to come into a good consensus finding process than matriarchal people have to do. All right, this is what I can say to this.
Thank you, Heidi. I think that was it was a very thorough response to that question. Consensus, we come from a culture, the dominant Western culture is not a consensus culture.
No, not at all.
So, yeah.
We know all these problems that we are raised to compete, we are raised to dominate, and we are raised to be individualistic strongly and not to listen to each other. We really have to learn to listen openly. Listening is a skill, is an ability, listening. And then to combine and to find together how we can come together. I think when we start to listen openly and try to understand the others, we can experience how rich it can be to be in a circle with different opinions. And then we start a creative process to bring it together. This is also possible. I think groups in our society also do this, but it's a long and a creative process, and it can be very fascinating. And we try to do it also in our matriarchal councils, in our Matriarchal Now group, to do it in that way. And I hope we can go on in this wonderful way longer and longer. No one has the intention to dominate there. We want to collaborate.
Yes. And I think it requires time, patience, and as you said, first trust and commitment to actually practice being collaborative, because we're not used to actually doing that as a group. We're almost used to just trying to get our point across so that one of us dominates and gets to be the right person or the best way, rather than gathering a consensus with the group that everybody wants to do it that way. So yes, it is sometimes taxing, but very fruitful. And it creates very, very unbreakable bonds when you can find that you trust people to consent with and know how to do the process. So thank you, Heidi, for bringing that forward. It's such an important way to collaborate.
We try to in our coalition, where we are seven leaders, 7 matriarchs, strong characters, we try to really do it all with consensus process. So we learn about our diversity, and we are elders, we are young women in this coalition, and in the middle ages, in the ages in between. But we try to understand each other. It's not so easy, but it's really very interesting that we do it by consensus, what we decide to do. And I do not know how we go on. It's like an adventure. We have a practical goal. This is important. We are not only discussing, we have a practical goal. The practical goal of all of us is to bring matriarchy, including the gift economy, to a more broader audience. And this goal unites us. And so I'm sure and I'm hopeful that diversities, we have great diversities, can be overcome by understanding and respecting and going on together.
Thank you, Heidi. Let me see if we have time for one more question. So Liliana.
Yes, there's a question. Has your work helped to connect different matriarchal societies with each other?
Yeah, yes. I do not know if you know about our former activities. From the Hague Academy, we created 3 big conferences and tried to bring together representatives of matriarchal societies. And what was interesting, they met, most of them met for the first time. They didn't know that they are not the only ones in the world. And this was for us very important and interesting for them too. Now they collaborate. We wanted to strengthen them and to support them. And they learned that they appreciate their patterns, their work, and how they manage their society. And yeah. Oh, could you repeat the question, Letecia? I hope I didn't
Yes.
lose it.
The question was, has your work helped to connect different matriarchal societies with each other?
Yes, in this way we did it. We did it with representatives of matriarchal societies on our 3 big congresses on matriarchal studies. They came together and some of them met for the first time and they didn't know before that they are not the only ones who have these patterns. And it was great work and I loved it a lot. And today they collaborate to some extent. We want to strengthen them. If they think they are the only ones and are isolated, they can be, the patriarchal surrounding can erode them very quickly and easily. But our congresses on these matriarchal societies, we hoped to strengthen them, that they start to collaborate and are more proud of the patterns they have, from which we could learn a lot. This is what we did.
Yes, and I think that there are recordings of the collaboration. I think that with Jen on Jen's website, isn't that some of the recording of was it the second or the third? Didn't you do a conference together?
You did?
We had 3 big conferences of this type where indigenous women and men from matriarchal societies came together and spoke. And it was a real, Genevieve was my partner with the second one, and you were attending everyone. And it was great that you could see how they started to collaborate and to share their knowledge and know from each other that are not isolated in the world, but that there are several ones, not so few, and that their patterns are appreciated by us European and American women, and that we want to learn from them. This was important for them.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Genevieve was my wonderful partner in this work. Thank you, Genevieve.
Oh, thank you. We had it in Texas, in San Marcos.
Yeah, the second one in Texas. But you were presenting at each one from the very beginning.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes. I'm going to just, before I close this out, I wanted to just bring forward Ingrid's question in the Q&A. She said, if we would like to show your presentation, which is this one, because the recording will be at our website, the maternalgifteconomymovement.org, a presentation, and give information about matriarchy now in a town or in an event, how will it be possible to present with your team? They come from all over the world. Or will it be allowed that region groups make their own presentations with their own members according to your principles?
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah. I think
I try to answer one after the other. Can
okay.
you start with the first one?
Yes. The first one is, how do we collaborate? Is it possible to with the team with this particular material? And I would like to speak for the maternal gift economy. You can have, we put this up so that you do share this with your communities as a discussion.
Sure.
Yes.
And
then
what was the next question in this whole cluster of questions?
Yes. And then the second question, let me just see. The second part is how and will it be allowed that interregion groups will make their own presentations with their own members according to your principles? And I don't know how you want to respond to that question, Heidi, because you do have a class, you do have a new cohort that's actually shaping up next year, don't you, where people can be trained in your principles, right?
You see, I do two different types of work. One is our study courses, where women and also men can learn about matriarch societies in the past, in the present, and what can we do today with this. The other task, which we presented with matriarchy now, is a task which we mean in a political sense. And we try to bring together in this group, we are now 7. And when we know about other organizations, it's not about individuals, about organizations who work with matriarchal principles and who are open to label their organization a matriarchal one, we want to include them, we want to grow. We do not want to remain with the 7 ones, we want to grow. And I think there are many others who do a wonderful work, and if they could accept with their work the matriarchal way and label their organization also a matriarchal one, we would be happy to include them. We want to grow. This is not a special group who want to stay on its own. We want to grow and bring in more and more people, groups, and organizations who openly label themselves as matriarchal. We are discussing some more, and we want to grow because we want to create a movement out of this. So this is what I can say in this context. But you can contact me or some of the group, and if you want to join us, we can find out how we can collaborate. It's open. It's an open. When we want to create a movement, we are open to all these suggestions and ideas, and other people who want to come in. Yes, I see matricentric. Matricentric is used. Barbara Mann uses the term matriarchal, like we do. Because many of the Iroquois people label their society matriarchal. Matricentric is used by Joan Marler and Maria Gimbutas, but they mean just the same. We openly declare it matriarchal because this is the most political term. If you use it matricentric or matrifocal or matrilocal, it's not understood directly, it's more understood as a scientific term meaning something, something, something. We label it matriarchal because this, as I said before, it's a very clearly defined term. It's used by some indigenous societies who have these patterns, and it is a political term. So we stay on this.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I am the timekeeper, and we're coming to the top of the hour. So I just want to close us out with saying thank you so much to Heidi for joining us. Jen, did you want to say anything before we close?
I'll just say matriarchy, yes.
Not just matriarchy, now matriarchy, yes. Heidi, do you have any closing words you'd like to leave us with?
Oh, I want to thank you, Letecia, Genevieve, Judith, and Liliana, all who make possible these wonderful salons, and thank you that you invited me. I'm grateful to you that we can spread the word, we can spread the work, and I'm looking forward to our next collaboration. Thank you all together.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Heidi, just thank you so much for always being generous with your time. We are so excited to have you come back in October. You're bringing Patricia Mukin with you?
Yeah.
Yes. And the topic is matriarchal men. This topic comes up very, very often. And it's very exciting because we don't have often examples of matriarchal men. But Patricia comes from a matriarchal culture. So she is living with matriarchal men today. And that's what we want to remember, that there are cultures today that identify as matriarchies. They're not just women. They're all genders. And those genders identify as matriarchy. So there are matriarchal men, and there are other words and languages that they use to self-identify them as all genders. But that is going to be a very exciting topic in October. I want to thank Diane and Lisa, who are behind the scenes. Diane did put up a link in the chat, which we will also put up when we put up this recording so that you can get all the links there. And that includes the collaborative conference that Heidi and Jen did. And you'll see matriarchal cultures, and you'll see academics who study matriarchal cultures giving their talks about what matriarchy is all about. I want to thank Liliana and Judith for organizing the questions, and I apologize to those of you for those questions that did not get answered today, but we'll make sure that those questions go to Heidi, and hopefully she will also have a list of the emails of people who've attended, and maybe she can match those up. And if she has time, you know, our speakers, Jen and Heidi, are very, very busy, but they will at least be able to read your questions and address them in future talks so that we know that you've been heard. All right. I want to thank Genevieve Vaughan again and the International Feminists for Gift Economy Network, who support this work, who really inspire us. We've been meeting weekly for 5 years, some of us, going in on a Wednesday group where we just, you know, kind of come together and are talking about all things that our network is doing. And it's quite diverse, but these salons are actually came out of those discussions that we knew that we needed to support our community and these initiatives coming forward. So I just want to thank everyone who is in the network. Jen, did you want to say something a little bit right now? You leaned in. Sometimes when you lean in, I think you want to say.
I was just gonna say, the salons didn't come from our Wednesday groups. The salons came out of a initiative that we had to do OM with women at the beginning of COVID. And we did that for several times, and then it evolved into these other meetings. That's how I think it actually happened. Unless I'm remembering wrong. I don't think so. and then after that, the Wednesday group came about. So I'm just correcting.
All right. If you'd like to be notified of our upcoming salons and events, you can sign up for our notification and our mailing list at our website, the maternalgifteconomymovement.org. This recording will be up there, and those of you who have registered will get a notice after and when the recording is available. So I just want to thank everyone so much for taking the time to be with us today. Please do come join us in 2 weeks. Jen is going to be presenting her latest paper, and we're very excited. She'll be here. What's 2 weeks from today?
The 20th.
The 20th. So please do join us for the 20th, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you, everyone. And really, Thank you for all the work that you do in the world, each of you. You make this world a better place. And I see lots of names of all of the attendees who are here. My heart is with you in spirit, and with so much gratitude, you make this world better. Thank you, everyone. Take really good care and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, Heide. Thank you,
Thank you.
Letecia.
Bye.